guess one of the other questions that would come up with this is like, from your own experience of dealing with mental health issues and interacting with others who are diagnosed, what's the best advice that you would have for others that are also struggling with something like that?
You mean like for someone who's suffering or someone who is a caregiver or looking in from the outside to someone who's suffering?
I think somebody who's also a caregiver, because it's also very tough on them mentally, especially if they're growing up with somebody like that. I think
Yeah.
it's important to know how they also feel and feel open. So, do you have any advice for people like them?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to both. So I would say for the individual who might be suffering in silence, like I think the biggest thing we can take away from COVID is the importance of owning how we're feeling and talking more about it. There's a lot more conversation, so it's a lot more acceptable to acknowledge if you're just not feeling the joy that you can feel, right? I think that's the barometer. People want to know, well, how do I know I'm sick? Well, do you have the joy that you love? Things that you love to do, is that missing or is that present? So I think that's sort of a good barometer to say, like, am I loving the things that once used to bring me joy or not? And have no shame in just talking. I say, it's important to talk to clinicians, but maybe people aren't there yet. So maybe it's just a confidant, someone you trust that you can just talk to. Because when we get out of our head, we are not ruminating anymore. We're actually verbalizing, what it is that has us feeling low or stuck. So the first thing I say is talk. For the caregiver, I didn't know any different. I share that with you. Like, I only knew what I knew. So I was sort of thrust into the role of playing a caregiver as a little girl because it's not like they said, "Hey, Michelle, do you want to be a caregiver?" It was like no option. But my advice to caregivers that I talk to now is you can't care for anybody that you love if you're not caring for yourself. It's the old airplane oxygen mask analogy. You know, there were moments when my mother was so sick and not sleeping, and I was up not sleeping and not feeling well. And then I was worth nothing in terms of caring for her, in terms of supporting her. So if we want to show up and support those loved ones to the best of our ability, don't deplete yourself. Like, make it a priority to get sleep, make it a priority to eat well, even step away for time by yourself so you can recharge so that you can come back and focus and be able to support your loved one. I always say there's no amount of depleting us that's going to make them better. So we have to take care of ourselves if we're caring for someone with a mental illness.